This episode is brought to you by Anchor.fm. If you haven't heard of Anchor, you should definitely check them out. It's a super easy tool that anyone can use to create and distribute their podcast. It has everything you need, and you can do it all from your computer or even your phone. Need your podcast cover art? There's a tool. Music and sound effects? They have you covered. Want to record on the fly? It's easy with the app. Now you may be saying to yourself, I already have a podcast. No worries, just create your account, upload, and publish to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Looking for some walking around money? Anchor connects you with advertisers who match your brand. It's a one-stop shop for all of your podcasting needs. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started. Hello and welcome to BizQuik. I'm Corey.
And I'm Julie.
And today on our show we have Chad Felderhoff. He is the owner and director of operations for Muenster Milling Company out of Muenster, Texas. Welcome, Chad.
That's right. You're listening to BizQuik. This is where Julie and Corey provide quick and useful information to small business owners. BizQuik is the podcast where small business owners get to showcase their businesses and receive expert advice and guidance in areas many entrepreneurs struggle with. And you, the listener, get solutions, tips, and tricks on real-world topics that many small business owners face. Julie and Corey are the experts small businesses hire when they need solutions. And the BizQuik podcast is just one way they deliver those solutions. Let's start the show.
Hi guys, how are y'all?
We're good. Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I've been looking forward to it. I've listened to quite a few of your podcasts, and when the opportunity came up to hop on, I felt like I could at least provide some insight or garner some knowledge from y'all as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. You are our first family-owned business that we've had on, first legacy family business. So this is exciting.
Oh man, I've got stories.
So let's start off by having you tell our listeners a little bit about your business and exactly like what prompted you to jump on our podcast.
Okay. Yeah. So we are a fourth generation owned family business. We do pet food, animal feeds, recently just got into the freeze-dried business. And so we've been around for 88 years. We like to say we're an 88-year-old startup because we're always encountering something new and different. My brother and I bought the business from our parents about 3 years ago. And so we've had all those fun conversations that you get to have when you buy your parents out. And then, I felt like there's definitely I can help some people out because I know where I was 3 years ago trying to navigate a family business transaction was difficult. And there's not a whole lot of books and not a whole lot of information out there because most family businesses don't make it past the second generation.
Wow, I didn't know that. So family business, everything's super easy, right? Because everybody gets along all the time. There's never any like fights or complications.
Oh, it's just butterflies every day when you walk into the office.
That's my guess. Yeah, I know how families work.
Yeah. Butterflies, cinnamon rolls, and hot coffee every morning when you walk in.
That has to be nice.
Yeah. And in the afternoons, you have popcorn and watch a movie.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So what's it really like?
Well, so funny story about the popcorn, right? So one of the gals in the front office, this was probably like 6 months after I'd come back to the family business. She was popping popcorn and burnt it in the microwave in the break room. And so it happens. I get it, right? It's just part of it. I went to heat up my breakfast the next morning in the microwave, and like when I say burnt popcorn, like there were outlines of popcorn in the microwave, I think. And so me being me, I took it and threw it out in a dumpster and went and bought a new one. It's a microwave. It's $20. And next thing I know, Mom's standing in the office. What happened to my microwave? And I said, it's in the dumpster. Why? Well, somebody burned popcorn in it and it wasn't good. She's like, we've had that for 15 years. Okay, it's probably time for a new one. So she wasn't really thrilled about that. So just to preface that, I went out into the corporate world before I came back to the family business. So I had a little different perspective of, I guess, how operationally things should run.
Did you, like, growing up, did you always think that you were going, or know that you were going to own the family business, or did you try and, get away as fast as you could?
Two answers to that question, because that's complicated. So growing up in it, my grandparents worked here at that time. I worked since I was old enough to work, basically, in the family business, and that's just kind of one of those things you do. And yes and no. It was always one of those things. Yeah, maybe I will. I don't know. I'd like it. Maybe. We'll see. And so our family's always really competitive, like ultra competitive. And so it was kind of one of those things, a little bit of a chip on my shoulder, because everybody's like, oh, you're just going to go work for your dad. I'm like, well, it's not that easy. If you've never been the business owner's son or daughter or whatever, and have to go work in the business, they just think that you get the nice, easy jobs. And it was like, no, that down there in that hole, there's some wet grain that's been down there for 3 weeks. It's time for it to get cleaned out. Yep. Put Chad down there. Get him in there. Like, this is not just the riding high on the drinking Coke sitting on the break room table. It was definitely difficult from that standpoint. And so I wasn't completely sure if I was going to or not. So I went off to college and got my undergrad, did an internship, and, looked at moving off. Job market wasn't great. Ended up working at a grocery store for 2.5 years. Worked in retail, was a manager in the retail side of things. Didn't like it. Like, there's only so many bad gallons of milk that you can take back from some old lady. It's like, here we are. It's in Texas. It's July. My milk was warm when I got home. Well, ma'am, where else have you been? Oh, well, I made 5 other stops. It's like, and you just got to say, yes, we'll get you another gallon of milk. And so I always wanted to be in the ag industry. And so I went back, got my grad degree and all that kind of fun stuff. And then went to work for a corporate, a giant grain elevator company. And, long story short, after 13 addresses in 7 years, my wife said, I'm tired of moving. And my brother was working in the family business, and he's like, hey, we need some help on the operations side. Like, if it's gonna grow, I need help. Otherwise I'm walking away. And so Texas is home for my wife, and it's home for me. And, South Dakota was not the greatest spot in the world for us at that time. So
you got a lot to do there.
Yeah. We did live by the infamous Corn Palace. So there was that.
Sweet. That had to be a lot of fun, though.
Once a year it was.
Yeah.
As the owner's son, it's in the family or whatever, did you feel like you had to work harder because everybody thought that, you were getting the easy jobs, like you had to prove yourself to the employees?
Yeah, a lot of it I had to work harder. It was a physical job. And so in Texas, football's king, right? And so over the summer, I'm throwing 50-pound sacks. Dad's like, it's a great workout, and then the guys at the office that are in the back throwing sacks as well, they're like, well, you're young, you need a workout. Get back here. You're throwing sacks. And it was throw 40 sacks, move around the line, throw 40 sacks, and they would just set me at the end of the sacking line, and you just go until you need a break. We'll let you know when it's our turn to throw sacks. And so, yeah, there was some of that, and they'd pick on me a little bit here and there because I was a young punk kid, and I was supposed to get ready for football, so they made me climb to the top of the legs and do all that little not fun stuff.
Good workout for you, though.
It was
Great
a good workout.
Yeah, exactly. So you came back, you're working with your brother, and then y'all decided to buy out your parents.
Yep.
What was that process like?
Well, I don't think you've got 5 hours, but I'll try to condense it. How about that? So, long story short, our parents did a great job, grew the business. They were comfortable. We all have, my brother and I, we've got kids. And the business was growing, and we wanted to take it a different direction in order to kind of help our kids get through college and all that kind of fun stuff, put food on the table. And mom and dad just weren't ready for that risk, that appetite, right? They had it was a steady income. We had one customer that was 65% of our business. That's not good.
That's scary.
That's really scary. And while they got it, they didn't get it, right? So they was like, yeah, he's 60, yeah, whatever. It's all good. And we're like, no, that doesn't compute. And so, long story short, we kept the pressure on wanting to make changes, wanting to do different things, approach things differently. We had 25 people at the time that I came back. We're up to 65 now. So we've grown tremendously. And it was basically the conversation is, well, if you want to make those changes, you just need to buy it. And we said, okay, we're poker players, and if you're going to call our bluff, you better be ready. And so, and Dad's a poker player too, so he got some other guys involved, and so there was a little bit of a bidding war, and I wouldn't quite say it was a war, but we were able to give him what he wanted from an employment standpoint, a money standpoint, and we basically went to the bank and just said, how much money will you give us for it? And they gave us a chunk of money, and we kind of worked out the deal from that standpoint. And so there were a lot of interesting moments. One of the greatest ones, I think, was Dad wanted everything to be a contract, lawyers involved, because he had 5 siblings as well. And he's the only one that owned the business. So he got in that with his siblings later on in life. We're like, yep, great. We need a contract. Let's do it legal. Let's get it all buttoned up. And so we reached out to a lawyer that we know and who does merger and acquisition. He came back and he's like, oh yeah, who's your dad using as a legal firm? This firm. Okay, great. I know where this is going. So he's like, I just did an M&A with that firm across town, 6 months ago. I know what they're going to get to. Hands us his contract, and it's like 67 pages long. And it was all the disclosures, all that, stuff. Dad looks at it and throws it on the ground and says, I want 15 pages worth of a contract. I'm like, oh, okay, 15 pages. That's kind of random, but we'll see what we can do. And so we went back to our lawyer, and he's like, well, it's going to be 67 if he continues to use that firm. And long story short, he got us a contract that was 15 pages, and that's what Dad wanted. So that's what we did.
That's random, but
yeah.
We're going to take a quick break to have Chad from Muenster Milling give you some information on special deals for you, our listeners, for Black Friday.
Hey guys, Chad with Muenster here. And if you don't know about us, we're a 4th-generation family-owned dog food company out of Muenster, Texas. We've been making dog food for 4 generations here. We care about your pets. We know your pets, and we can feed your pets. Go to muenstermilling.com. We've got some Black Friday specials going on right now. We've got doorbusters that start on Thursday and end Friday morning, and we'll have deals running all week long. We'll have small business and Cyber Monday deals. Go to muenstermilling.com to check it out.
Awesome. Thanks, Chad. Tell us about some of the struggles that you've had with the family, like keeping it, business and family apart.
Yeah, so it's always fun at Christmas and Thanksgiving and all that kind of fun stuff because you try not to talk about work, but all of a sudden work pops up, and then my wife and my sister-in-law and everybody's like, God, we're talking about dog food again at the Christmas table, right? So that's one of them, and as nuanced as it is, it just happens. It's that big a part of your life, right? So that happens. You talk about the podcast, I'm sure, at a family event or something like that. It's just more nuanced because it's everybody in the family is involved in it at some point. And then honestly, just drawing lines in the sand. So my brother does the sales side of stuff and I do the operation side. And we've got an office and we got a conference room table in between us. And if we're having a discussion and we meet at the conference room table, we know it's probably time to sit down and just back up a little bit and actually think about the problem, right? Because it is one of those things. Your family, you try to separate it, but it never happens. And some people's understanding is completely different from a family member. So, as we bought the business and took over and did more things, we hurt feelings in the family side of things. So, for example, my mom she was an accountant, bookkeeper, great job, did awesome, wanted to get out and travel the world, but didn't want to leave her desk. Didn't want to give up that stuff. And so, yeah, I remember we had this plan. Okay, in a year, we're going to get you out. So you don't have to worry about coming in or do anything. We're going to hire people in. We're going to get all this done. We get a year later and she hasn't moved forward on that. We hired some people, but she didn't train them. And so then they were gone and we kind of moved some duties around, switched some duties around. And she came back and wanted to take right back over. I'm like, no, that's part of you working your way out. And that was not a fun conversation,
I don't imagine it was. That's hard.
Yeah. And I couldn't imagine with family. Like I've never worked with my family, not really. But I've worked with really good friends over the years and I've had to fire really good friends and I've had responses from, oh, cool. Does that mean I don't have to come into work today? To I didn't talk to a guy for 6 years. And so I imagine with family, that makes it a little more difficult.
Yeah. And so things are better now. That was 3 years ago and things are better now. But mom still hasn't been back in the office. She won't come into the office. She'll call and say, hey, I'm downstairs. You want to go to lunch? Yeah. And we go downstairs and she's outside in her car. Or, hey, I dropped something off in your pickup for you. That type of scenario. Like it's so I don't, whatever she had in her mind that it is what it is. And so time heals a lot of wounds. So it was a slow, precipitous, like every time you had to have a conversation. And finally we just said, look, Mom, it ends next month. Like all of it. Like I'm not having this. I'm not gonna feel like I'm firing my mom 18 times.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like let's get it over with. We're all gonna be better off from that standpoint.
Right. So if you had, for any of our listeners who are thinking about buying, their family business, taking it over, or they're just working in the family business, what's some advice that you could give to them to save them a hard lesson that you've learned?
So you always got to know what divorce looks like before you get into it. And so I think that's one of the things that most people don't think about it, right? If you're good friends, Corey, you said you fired some good friends, right? You don't go in with a contract and say, hey, here's what it looks like if we break up. Most of the time it's like, no, we're going to figure it out. And then you get 2 years down the road and it's like, man, this is ridiculous. Like I shouldn't have to do this. but then you don't have a contract or a buy-sell agreement, like that's the first thing that needs to go in place. Like any business, anything like that, I recommend getting a lawyer involved, because contracts keep good friends good friends.
Yeah.
And it outlines it right there. There's no gray area. I mean, my brother and I, that was what we did. Whenever we bought the business, there's a buy-sell agreement. It's triggered. It's the same triggers on his side as they are on my side.
Yep.
And so it's all right there. And lining that stuff out and knowing it from the word go, that gives you some peace of mind.
That's great advice.
It is.
Great advice that so many people need to consider.
The whole reason you purchased the business was because you wanted to take the business in a direction that your family didn't, your parents didn't. What pivots have you made since you purchased the business that has been able to, essentially make you grow? I'm assuming like the number of employees, it's about 2.5 times. So
yeah. So we have shifted our focus to online sales, right? So we were selling about 2 bags of dog food a month online. Went back, this was 7 years ago or 10 years ago. So 2010, we were selling 2 to 5 bags a month online through our website, right? Now we're selling about 1,000 a week through our website. And we're pushing to get that to 2,000. So that's part of it. Another part of it was we wanted to add freeze dryers. So we added freeze dryers to our product mix. And that basically has completely overtaken that one customer that I was telling you that we had 65% of our revenue was coming from one customer. So we chopped him down to about 25% of our revenue now through growing these other avenues and other areas. And it's definitely, we're in a niche market. And so that's one of those, the freeze dried is one of those investments that we had to make. We bought a facility, we stripped it down, put, $4 or $5 million in it all together. And that was just an investment that they weren't willing to make, but it's paying for itself right now.
How have things been this year with COVID, and have you seen an impact, or you're still steady growth?
No, we're still rocking and rolling. COVID was actually kind of I don't know if I'd say a blessing in disguise, but from the online business, we saw our monthly volume triple. And it hasn't backed down. And so it pushed all these people to come online. And so we've seen a great growth in our online. And we had just rebuilt our website again, and we've added different things to our website. You can customize your own bag of dog food. You can make your own bag of dog food just like you're at a hibachi grill or whatever.
Wow.
And so we had all that lined out. And COVID hit, everybody went online. Chewy ran out of dog food. Amazon was running out of dog food. And here we were. And so it was great. It worked out well for us. It's been a struggle on the operation side, just from trying to keep people safe and trying to make adjustments there. Supply chain has been a bear.
Yes.
And, but overall, you just adapt and overcome. We were started in 1932. There was some pretty big events in 1932.
Just a few.
Yeah.
Just a few.
But it's funny because people, regardless of their financial situation, they will still find ways to spend money on their animals.
Yeah.
And it's the same. It's like, it's kind of like the sin stocks. It's like alcohol, gambling, tobacco, throw your pets in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And absolutely. I think one of the big things that, came with COVID was more people were buying pets because they were home, and people were also really treating their pets better, right? So
Yes.
They were looking for higher quality products for their animals because they were spending so much time with them, and realized the importance of their animals even more than they had prior. Because people are crazy about their pets.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, no, and that's why we got the freeze dryers, and that's why my brother, if you want to, you can go look him up on YouTube. He did 30 days of dog food. He ate nothing but dog food, January 1 to January 30th.
Wait, so for real?
For real, nothing but dog food. Everybody asked me, "Oh, did he really?" I'm like, "No, he ate nothing but dog food."
Well, that makes
Did it make his coat shiny?
He lost 30 pounds.
Well, I was going to say, sorry to interrupt you, but I was like, well, that makes me feel better because when I was looking on your site, I was like, that actually looks pretty delicious.
Yeah, it's great, man. I got in on it too. Not 30 full days, but yeah, he did 30 days. And, there again, we're a small enough company. We did it to prove a point. Mars, Purina, all those guys, their CEO, their owners are not going to eat dog food for 30 days.
No.
They
probably don't feed it to their own pets.
Yeah.
They probably don't. They don't know what they're feeding their pets probably.
Probably. Yeah.
So that was also that hit, that was in January. We made a documentary out of it. It kind of mushroomed into its own thing. And, there again, the lesson from that is be consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't believe that your brother ate nothing but dog food for 30 days. And I don't, is that on your website? Cause I don't know how I missed it.
Yeah.
I need to go back and look. I'm gonna check that out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm gonna order Corey some dog food.
Get the meatballs, Corey. That's
okay.
That's what you want.
That's fantastic.
It's all human grade.
Perfect. All right. Well, we need to start wrapping up. This is great. We could have talked for hours with you about family business and transition. But tell our listeners how they can find you and how they can order pet food.
Yeah. So I'm on Instagram as Bart Brother. I'm on Facebook as Chad Felderhoff. I'm on LinkedIn at Chad Felderhoff. You can go on to muenstermilling.com, and it's really easy. You can go on. We designed the website to almost look like Domino's Pizza. If you want to make your own custom bag of dog food, you can add bacon fat. Corey, you put bacon fat on your meatballs, man.
now you have him sold, Chad.
You get some bacon fat, or you get salmon oil, and you can add probiotics and all that kind of fun stuff that people really want. As you said, people are really in tune with what they want their pets to eat. And so we try to provide all those options out there, and it's great. You can go online, orders over $49, ship free. We'll have big Black Friday sales. That was one that when we first started pushing online and mom was around, and we did mom and dad were around, we did buy one get one free bags of dog food online. For Black Friday, we sold 500 bags that one Black Friday, and it was kind of crazy. They didn't get it at all.
That's exciting though. And yeah. I love that you do a Black Friday sale. So good for you. We will put all that information in the show notes on how people can find you. Thank you so much for coming on our show. And thank you to our listeners. We love that you guys tune in and listen.
And you can connect with us on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. And you can also reach out to us and find out more information about us on sppace.com and bizquickpodcast.com.
And while you're out there, subscribe to our podcast so you get notifications when new episodes are available. And like us and give us a review.
And while you're out there, just go ahead and reach out to us about any topics you might want to hear us cover, or if you want to be a guest, you can sign up for it on bizquickpodcast.com. And we also have a book out. It's called Seriously, Now What? A Small Business Guide to Disaster Preparedness. You can buy that on Amazon, and you can click through our website to get there as well.
I'm Julie.
And I'm Corey.
And this was BizQuik, helping small businesses across America.